Hello everybody, this is King Zeus 6117 coming at you with a new video. Today we actually have the round 1 of the upper tier of the Rainbow Rocket Draft Association, the Lugia tier, versus the Indian Infernape, and ZeroXVIII is the coach. We can go over their team real quick. I guess a little sidebar before we get into that. In the other videos, I guess it never occurred to me to have a little breakdown of our team and the opponent's team before the battles. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I will show you a paste of the team that I brought, and then we'll actually get into the battle. So I feel like that's just a much better explanation of what's going on, I guess. But starting with their team, round 1, well, not necessarily in round 1 through whatever format, but just point format, I guess. But they have Tornadus Therian, which 18 points was the highest point total mons in general, so they got 3 of those actually. So their team is extremely top heavy, but I don't dislike it at all. They got Tornadus Therian, a great bulky Pokemon with a regenerator that just never dies sometimes. Mega Deontay, uh, great setup sweeper, uh, great breaker, Deoxys speed, very annoying because it's so fast. You don't ever have to invest in speed. You can probably run a negative speed nature and still outspeed everything. But always has hazards and other annoying shenanigans. We have Heatran, can be bulky, can hit like a truck, can do both at the same time. Zarude, pretty much the same thing I just said about Heatran. Swampert, great bulky mod. In occasional matchups, can have a great offensive showing. Then the rest of their team is Slowbro Galar. 10 points, Pangoro. 8 points, Rotom Fan. 5 points. I really like their team. The only thing that I would change is, I guess, is getting a different fighting type because I don't like doubling up on the dark types. But that's also not necessarily a problem because they have a great Fairy Stopper and Heatran and Slowbro Galar, so it is what it is. And then as far as fighting, the first 3 mons on their team. But getting into my team real quick, we have Mega Glade at 18 points. Uh, in this draft, I had the first overall pick. I don't recall what Zero had, but so I had the first overall pick, and then I had to wait till it gets all the way back to me to have the wheel pick, which is my favorite. Maybe I don't know if I like first overall pick or last overall pick the most, because last overall pick you get to plan whatever you want or whatever, but first overall pick you just gotta pick something and hope something that works or something that you think works well with it on the way back comes up or whatever. Which I didn't have a problem with this time, but I can understand how it can be a problem. But my next one is Gengar at 15 points and Hydreigon at 16 points. I really just wanted uh, offensive fighting, ghost, and dark. Poison is pretty good. Psychic's pretty good as well. Dragon's good in matchups. It can be good. But I really wanted some offensive mods. I can do whatever I need them to do. Mega Glade has crazy coverage and great physical attack, and is pretty fast too at 110. And I believe its physical attack is 165. Gengar, 110 speed as well, 130 special attack. I don't really mind doubling up on the same speed tier with Gengar and Mega Glade, because Mega Glade is stuck at 110, but regular Gengar is a great Scarfer. And then Hydreigon can do whatever I need it to do offensively, and depending on who I'm facing a particular week, this can also be a great defensive wall to whatever I would be facing, I guess. But Mega, or not Mega, just Hydreigon also just has crazy, crazy coverage. Can be physical, special, can set up on either side. It's just crazy. Savali is. I really needed a Pokemon that can just kind of do whatever. So that's why I got Savali. Great defensive. I can make it whatever type I need it to be. It gets Defog, it gets Parting Shot. Great mon. Magnezone, I wanted a Steel type. At this point in time, I was thinking about potentially getting Dragon Fairy Steel Core Goaling. So I got the Magnezone, I got the Hydreigon, but I didn't get a Fairy type. Savali can be a Fairy type if I want it to be, but it is what it is. We got Arcanine, can also do a lot of things. Great physically defensive, great offensive line as well, both physically and specially. And then the rest of my team, we got Suicune, great wall, but also a great setup sweeper with like some Calm Mind and whatnot. Tangela, we needed a grass type. We needed something that was going to take a lot of hits, and this with its Eviolite can do that. And then we got Ambipom, just kind of like a ghost immunity since we don't necessarily have that, and I could bring this week and catch somebody off guard or whatever with like a abandoned technician set or whatever the case may be. But that's just the composition of both teams before we actually get into the battle. And here's my Poke Paste of my team. What I brought. Uh, my original team was different than this, but then I had some struggles trying to communicate with the other coach to schedule this battle. We've been trying for like a week. We just have polar opposite schedules. It is what it is, though. So I originally had this team made and ready to go like a week ago, and then I deleted all of my teams when I was recording the other videos just so that I can do my little thing on Pokemon Showdown. And so when I remade the team all fast and whatnot before the match, I changed the team, and I really liked the team that I had before because I like actually kind of thought it out for probably like 10-15 minutes. All my other battles, like I just kind of like throw everything together real quick. I usually actually record a live version of all the battles, but I just kind of don't feel like I express my thoughts as well as I could, I guess. Whether they're the correct thoughts to have at that point in time, or whether I was just explaining why it was incorrect or whatever, or why I think it was incorrect and whatnot. But originally, I believe that Mega Glade did not have Leaf Blade, it had Swords Dance. But it having Leaf Blade actually did come up, so I am not upset about that change. For Gengar, I believe originally I didn't have Sludge Wave. Originally I had Focus Blast. And I don't know if that necessarily mattered a lot. Like, I definitely had to change some decisions. I would have clicked Focus Blast at least once in the match if I had it. But it was against. I'll just save it for the match. But Hydreigon, I wanted a setup sweeper. I already had this set. I think I originally had Rock Slide instead of Head Smash, but in my thoughts before the game, and I'm not upset that I changed this actually. I was just like, I'm basically bringing the Head Smash for Tornadus because if I get the chance to, knock it out, I need to take that chance, and Rock Slide wasn't necessarily strong enough to do that, I guess. Um, that's all I got to say about that, I guess, without spoiling things. Savali, I did Savali Ground, actually. I just felt like having a multi attack in this set. Obviously, I can't hit his flying types like Tornadus or Rotom Fan, but I didn't think that Rotom Fan was going to come. And if Tornadus being the beast of a mon it is, I expected it to come, and I had the Thunderwave for that. I was debating Thunderwave over Toxic. I think the original set I had Toxic. I am definitely not upset that I changed it to Thunderwave, but that's just my thoughts on it, I guess. Then I have Arcanine, Choice Banded, Jolly. I believe that I originally had this as Adamant, but I changed it to Jolly right before the match. Um, I had it as Adamant because my plans going into the battle was I was really, really hyper focused with the last one, Suicune, and Mega Glade up top on breaking so that I can weaken like Swampert. Because if I get behind a sub with Suicune, with it being physically defensive in its set, and it like setting up Calm Minds, if I set up a sub and it doesn't break it that first turn, if I set up a Calm Minds, a defensive or especially defensive, just a tanky Swampert in general isn't going to be doing too much damage to me in general. So I was for sure trying to set up on that Swampert with Suicune, but I was like extremely hyper focused in this match, trying to break with either Suicune or Mega Glade. Mega Glade had Swords Dance at first, like I said, but Leaf Blade with the switch. I just felt like Mega Glade had massive attack already, so uh, even though a Swords Dance would be nice in some cases, the Leaf Blade, in my mind, was definitely the correct switch. And Suicune, I believe that I had a different EV spread before. It wasn't damage calculated or anything like that. It was just different. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think I had max HP and more defense investment. But I figured that there wasn't too much that I really wanted to, or really would get the chance to hit me defensively all that much besides Zarude, like physically, offensively, I should say, I guess. Um, but I figured if I was already behind the sub and Zarude broke the sub at that point in time, at a bare minimum, if I got behind a sub when Swampert was in and Swampert switched out to Zarude to immediately break the sub, that's a minimum of one Calm Mind up. And one Calm Mind, Modest Nature with some special attack investment with the Ice Beam is going to be doing good damage. And then while I'm regaining HP with leftovers by the time they broke the sub and actually hit me, uh, there wasn't really anything that they were going to do in general that was going to one hit KO me, I believed. So I was just, if I was in that situation, I would have just, Ice Beam, and that probably would have been the end of Zarude if it was not especially defensive. But if it was, then it wouldn't be doing enough damage to threaten me, I guess. But that's all I gotta say before we actually get into the battle. So, oops. Don't need that anymore. Don't need that anymore. And here we are. We just actually played this match like an hour ago. So it's relatively fresh in my. Well, the thoughts of during the match is relatively fresh in my mind. I don't remember the play by play or anything like that. But something that Zero did that nobody else I've faced in like a league manner so far is they took a lot of time, like probably close to like timer every time, which I'm definitely not upset about at all because once I would hastily click a move, I would have to sit there and think about it just because I was waiting for them to make their move. So I feel like that changed some of my moves from like I would click a move and then while waiting for them, I would cancel and click a different move, which in some instances that helped, in some instances it didn't. But here we go, getting into it. Music off, dark theme. Let's not blow out eardrums this time, and play. So first turn, Gengar versus Heatran. I really thought that with the set that I currently have, that I was going to hit everything good. Good. Hit everything hard enough to justify staying in on it until I remembered that instead of Focus Blast, I had Sludge Wave. I guess I didn't discuss its specific stats in the team builder, but Gengar is max speed timid with a scarf. So if I two hit focus blast, I feel like I might have KO'd Heatran, but since I didn't have anything to do enough damage, I think the highest damaging move I would have had would have been Shadow Ball, and I think that was doing somewhere around a third or something like that. It's just my guess. I don't remember if that happens or whatnot, but I just knew I wasn't going to hit hard enough to justify switching or staying in. And like I said earlier, I was really like hyper focused on trying to set up with Suicune or just getting in Mega Glade in general just to hit hard to break so I can have Arcanine in the back. So that's going to like explain why I made a majority of, or not a majority, but a decent of my turns. What even if it was the right or wrong play at the time, I guess. But I hear Tornado U turns, and I go for the Thunder Wave. I believe I said in the PokePaste page that I originally had Toxic over Thunder Wave. If I didn't, I did. If I had Toxic, that would have been better in this specific situation. But I am not. I am still not upset that I switched to Thunder Wave. So here they go, Swampert on the Thunder Wave. Very very predictable move on my part. It is what it is. At this point in time, Swampert comes in. I partied shot it out. I don't know why, but in my mind right here, Swampert was 1,000,000% going for Stealth Rocks. In my mind, at this point in time, that's all he was going to do. I don't know why I thought that way, and I actually talked in like a post battle Discord server with Zero afterwards, but they were like, or they had said that they had all the time in the world to get up their rocks. So there was no reason for them to have to do it right now. But with my line of thinking they're going for rocks, I immediately go to one of my potential win conditions in Suicune. Um, if I got Suicune in while he was going for rocks, I set up a sub, and depending on how invested he is on whether he is physically or offensively attacking, he may not be able to break that sub in one hit because I have a ton of physical defense. And I believe I am faster than them, and I was going to go for the Calm Mind if I got a chance. But them doing the correct play immediately go for Toxic. This was where I think at the beginning of the game I was struggling because of them taking so long. I think I was getting nervous and like switching off of what I thought was a correct play in general, anyways. Um, at this point in time, if I would have been able to like switch back or anything like that, I might have stayed in with Salvali, but also saying that Savali doesn't do too much against this to begin with. Savali is there to be like a good pivot, go ahead and parting shot out so something in the back can like set up or whatever, or just come in and live a hit so that they can hit back, whatever the case may be. But Suicune comes in, Suicune gets poisoned. That's a very bad turn for me. And I feel like I just play very jittery for like the first like 5 to 10 turns or whatever. Here after the poison, I don't know why I did this, but I still set up my sub, just lowering my HP even more since I'm already on the timer with Toxic. And they switch out to Zarude. Now, I said earlier that if I had a singular Calm Mind up and I hit 2 Ice Beams, I felt like I could have done that, and I don't think Zarude would have done anything or would have been able to do anything to me to. Obviously, it would have broke the sub, but I don't think it could have knocked me out after that, and I believe 2 Ice Beams would have knocked it out. But here I go for an unboosted Ice Beam, and they Darkest Lariat, and I do 43%. That I don't know if that was a high roll or anything like that, but if I had a calm mind up, it would have definitely done well over 50%. That's all I gotta say, I guess. So we ice beamed there, didn't do too much damage. I didn't necessarily I didn't necessarily want to switch out Suicune to save it at this point in time because it was already poisoned and I had no way to get rid of that. Um, it just is what it is. So I was just playing reckless with Suicune. In my mind, Suicune was lost as soon as it was toxic at the time. But obviously, I could have like switched out and preserved it to do a better attacking role later, whatever that later could have been, I guess. But I just kind of stayed in. I ice beamed. At this point in time, they switched to Heatran, and I an Ice Beam. Just because I was already playing Reckless with Suicune, I just don't believe that they realized it yet. So I Ice Beamed on the Heatran, and I Ice Beamed on the Zuru and made the correct switch to Heatran. But I felt like they were just going to, or they were believing that I would have expected them to switch out again. I believe that they thought that I would Ice Beam again. But I just scalded and let them get their rocks up, basically. And then I get knocked out by the Toxic. I go back to Savali. I am Savali ground. I am very, very specially defensive. They don't have a balloon, so there's not the most that they can do to me, and I can very, very well knock them out in one hit. And I believe that they knew that at this point in time as well. So they switch out to Swampert, and I parting shot out. I really don't like this Swampert, just because of what it did to Suicune. But I knew that I eventually am going to have to deal with it. It just is what it is. I go into Glade. I do have Leaf Blade on the Glade, so like I said in the Poke Pace, I did switch it right before the match from Sword Stance to Leaf Blade, and I still stand by that decision at this point in time. They switch out the Deoxys Speed, and I go ahead and Leaf Blade. They are a very, very physically defensive Deoxys Speed. I switch out back to Savali, expecting them to try to either attack or get up like spikes or something like that. Either way, like I said, Savali is very specially defensive vested and it has defog, so if they went for more hazards, I was here for it. Then the very next turn, we go ahead and defog. I switch out to Arcanine, get up the Intimidate off. They go for the U turn. Uh, this is another. This is probably the play where I regret the changes that I did when I was hastily recreating the team. Because I originally had close combat on Arcanine instead of Wild Charge, I believe. Um, when I was hastily making the team because Arcanine is Bandit Adamant, I was like, it has a Tornadus, or they have a Tornadus, so I should probably, have a move that's special effective against it. But with his attack being max and a band, I probably could have easily just got away with clicking Flare Blitz because I believe Thunder or Wild Charge wouldn't have one hit KO'd, but Flare Blitz would most likely have still done over half. So either way, it was probably still a 2 hit KO. So I really, really regret not having close combat on Arcanine. I could have went for it in this turn, but there was also other turns later that I could have done it. Here I go to Gengar. This was another turn where, actually, let me just let it happen. I go for Shadow Ball. I am Timid Scarf. I expected them to switch out because I expected me clicking Energy Ball, which I did have for Swampert. I expected that me selecting that move was just too obvious, so I was just going to Shadow Ball, get some chip damage on Heatran, or Zarude, either of which this is another point in time where I made a bad decision right before the match in switching out Focus Blast for Sludge Wave. It wasn't like a conscious decision where I like thought about it and preferred Sludge Wave. It was just I forgot about Focus Blast, just like I forgot about Close Combat and Arcanine when I was throwing it together. So I had the three moves already, and I was clicking on whatever looked good after that. So I was like, ooh, stab, let's pick Sludge Wave. But there's really nothing I need Sludge Wave for. So I really, really, if I had Focus Blast, I probably still would have Focus Blasted right here, either expecting the Heatran or the Zarude to come out. Either way, I was expecting one of those to come out, which is why I clicked Shadow Ball. I wasn't sure which one that they were going to switch out to. I was just sure that they were going to switch out, which they didn't. And I actually talked to them after the game, and they were like a really, really specially defensive Swampert. I think it was like match HP, like 200 special defense or something like that, with the special defense boosting nature. So either way, I believe the calc was like 77 to like 92%. So it really didn't matter because I made the decision that they were going to switch. I was going to attack to begin with, regardless of if I had Focus Blast or not. But either way, staying into attack in general, whether clicking Shadow Ball, Focus Blast, or Energy Ball, was the wrong choice because they were so especially defensive. But here I go. I go out to Glade. I'm really like sick of the Swampert. The Swampert is doing work against my team, and I just go for it. I just attack with Leaf Blade. I feel like at this point in time, this was when I started not necessarily doing better, but doing or like not necessarily doing good, but doing less bad. If that makes sense, I guess. So I just go ahead and knock out Swampert. They go into Thundurus. I do have the Thunder Punch for Tornadus. Sorry, I said Thundurus earlier. Tornadus Therian, but I didn't want to necessarily risk if they were scarfed, because if they were scarfed, they would have done big damage to Glade, and because I lost Suicune, I needed, in my mind, I really, really needed Glade to break in some capacity if I still wanted to sweep up with Arcanine, because that's still like a viable option if I knock out or get a lot of damage on either Deontay and Heatran, which at this point he trans at 69, Deontay's at full. Um, so that's just is what it is. I believe I had Iron Head, so if I got to a point where Arcanine was in anyways, um, I don't know what I would have clicked, whether like what Pokemon I would have predicted to come in or anything like that. But anyways, Savali, like I said earlier, is very specially defensive, so we're just gonna switch on in here. They go ahead and hit the Hurricane. I get hit with the Stealth Rock, so I'm very low. At this point in time, Savali is low enough to where I felt like it wasn't going to come in and live a hit anyways. So I didn't want to have too much damage on one of the extra mons or whatever. So here I just fully expect them to hit Hurricane, and they miss, and I hit the Thunder Wave. Now this was a very, very big turn, because this turn set in motion, if I were to have a comeback, this was going to set in motion the comeback, basically. So I Thunder Waved it. Once again, I don't have any way to hit it because I only have multi attack and I'm Savali Ground. So I guess my only two real options right here were either Defog or Parting Shot. I went ahead and clicked Defog because I felt like I needed more HP on Arcanine because it's already got a little bit of chip on it, being at 90%, and I had Flare Blitz, so that was going to definitely do more damage back to me. Because if Heatran would have went down at any point in time, I would have just Flare Blitzed it out, I guess. But they go and hit the Hurricane. I go ahead into Hydreigon. I Dragon Dance up. I felt at this point in time, Hydreigon set was very solid. I had the Head Smash to knock this out if I needed to. I had the Iron Tail for Deontay, so that was just gonna roll the dice and see if I hit. Uh, I had I don't recall what my fourth move was, but it's not too important at this time. They go ahead and click knockoff, get rid of my leftovers. That really sucked because I felt like the recovery would have been so nice for Hydreigon potentially sweeping for the rest of the game. But they knock it off. I go ahead and Dragon Dance again. They get they superpower. Um, I take a lot of damage, but they drop their defense. So I figured because they drop their defense, I'm +2 attack, adamant, max attack. I figure Iron Tail was enough because I didn't want to take that head smash recoil. So I Iron Tailed, I hit, thankfully. They go out to Deoxys. Uh, I clicked Earthquake here because Tornadus is gone and Head Smash had recoil and Iron Tail is inaccurate. So I go ahead and click Earthquake here. This is when I find out they're like physically defensive. If I would have clicked Head Smash there, it probably would have knocked it out, but in the process, I might have knocked myself out, so I guess it doesn't matter too much. They go ahead and hit the Focus Blast. Good for them. Definitely not complaining about that because I hit my inaccurate moves too, so everybody wins around here. That's what we like to see. I go ahead and get Mega Glade. I have the Shadow Sneak. Shadow Sneak was specifically there for this mod. If I needed to click it, this was another root turn. Like when Mega Glade was facing Swampert, I had to attack what was in front of me just because I'm down bad already. So I go ahead and get rid of Deoxys. So now it's 2 to 3. They are, like I said in the pre battle stuff, they are Mega Deontay. Mega Deontay has the same exact speed tier as Mega Glade at 110. So I figured this right here, right now, was going to be where I risked the speed tie because I had the Leaf Blade for Mega Deontay, and if they were max speed, it was a flip of a coin because of the speed tie. But if they weren't max speed and they were more defensive, then Leaf Blade still had a chance to knock it out. It is what it is. But they actually did an amazing play right here. They actually didn't Mega Evolve, so they kept their physical defense and they went ahead and Moon Blasted. And I don't remember how invested this mod was because they didn't share their entire team, but I believe that this was a role to be knocked out by. It is what it is. Uh, so Mega Glade gets knocked out, and at this point in time was probably the biggest point in time where not having that fighting move really would have theoretically affected my comeback. At this point in time, um, if I had a chance to win, it would have been Mega Deontay not knocking Arcanine out somehow. Maybe a misclick or something. I have zero clue how they wouldn't knock it out. But if I were to win here, it would be because I am banded and clicking close combat, and they're not speedy in Heatran and Zarude, so I am being animate, still outspeeding them. But that's just Fantasyland because I switch an Arcanine and they go ahead and do the correct play, Mega Evolve, and just KO me. We throw up the GGs, and then we actually continued to talk in the post game Discord chat, which I do believe that they in general played better than me, but I said in the after game thing or whatever that the only reason why I was in the game was because Tornadus mixed Hurricane. But I also thought Tornadus was had a turn of paralysis for some reason. So I apologize for hacks that never happened, I guess. But it is what it is. I feel like in the future, slowing down and thinking my thoughts through the first time is the correct play. But I feel like I just need to follow my gut more and not if I have too much time get antsy and switch up my moves and whatnot because I feel like playing like that kind of hurt me a little bit. but it is what it is. I still enjoyed the battle. I appreciate Zero for being a graceful winner. Um, I appreciate them finally, like, I felt like when we were talking in Discord and when we finally linked up for the battle, I feel like it was from the old Hercules movies from Disney when all like the stars aligned and stuff like that when the Titans escaped. I felt like that finally like connecting with them was like that because we're up against the deadline of both of us taking a forfeit and like a -3 or something like that. I don't remember what the rule on that is, but it was a fun game. I enjoyed it. Uh, I honestly think that I did a lot better in this game than I thought I would originally. Given that this is like the top tier of the RDDA, the Rainbow Rocket Draft Association. So that being said, I felt like I was in the game for far longer than I thought I would have been. But, you know, being close only counts for horseshoes and hand grenades, so it is what it is. But I'm glad that I played, or at least I stopped playing bad, or as bad after the first like 15 turns or so. But it was a great game. I had fun. Uh, that's all I have for you folks, and have a great rest of your day. Hopefully, I'll see, or you'll see a new video with me soon.